What's up, guys? It's me, Lumosteromax, here to drop the video everyone has been waiting for, man, and I'm super hyped to finally get to it. The power of Dr. Manhattan, and exactly how extreme this character gets. Quick side note, shout out to my boy Genius Flash for requesting this video, and if you want to see your own video requested, let me know down low. Cash App sure is gonna make it happen. John Osterman was once just a man, but one day fatefully changed into the quantum life form known as Dr. Manhattan. Now, I'm not here to give you his life story or anything like that, but I am here to show you the most banger shit Dr. Manhattan has ever achieved, both through character statements and through actual feats that the character has performed within the comics themselves. No extra movie shenanigans. This may not be absolutely every single feat that he has ever had. Keep in mind, I'm just bringing up the most relevant ones and the craziest ones, because there is a lot of minor stuff past this. I just think this is the meat and potatoes of the stuff. So, before we even get to Manhattan himself, let's just focus on the idea of what other characters have done with his power. Because before we even get to him, there's characters who, yeah, it's pretty wild stuff. But to give you an idea of just the basics, there was a cat who was cloned from the remains of Dr. Manhattan who atomically dismantled it. And just the clone of that cat that was killed alone could find Manhattan, track his energies. It granted him temporal fingertip vision and about 3,700 other things. So even just having a fragment of his energy grants you some pretty wild capabilities. But beyond that, the energy that was just in that clone cat could be utilized and weaponized to one-shot Superman, Batman, and Firestorm bare minimum, which is pretty wild to think about because Superman gets flat out knocked out. And that's why he doesn't go to to Mars down the ways, because they track that power and visit him down the road. Now, Wally West, another being who we came across down the way, who came across the chair of Metron, who had some of Dr. Manhattan's powers in it. Bro, he got on that chair and started utilizing the energies within it, which are Manhattan's, and was capable of entirely understanding the entire DC existence in a matter of a few panels, which is crazy to think about. The Bat Who Laughs, who is another character who runs around and memes around super hardcore. The evil ultimate prep time Batman Nightmare brought to life. Yeah, the Bat Who Laughs ultimate endgame was basically to become his own unique twisted version of Dr. Manhattan. And keep in mind, this is ultimate prep time guy. His whole purpose is oh fuck it, I want to be like that guy. So that should give you another idea of how insane this shit is. When he did finally achieve that level of power, the Darkest Knight, or Batmanhattan, as I like to call him, was powerful enough to completely fool the Super Celestial Perpetua, and he ran down the speedsters inside the Speed Force, with them admitting they would die if they stopped and try to fight him. This is relevant because he still considers himself in a weakened state at this point in time, which means he is not near Manhattan's level of potential at this point. All of Earth's heroes believe that this exact Manhattan is literally going to kill Perpetua and prove to be completely unstoppable. Wonder Woman, earlier on in that same arc, also wielded a small portion of the latent energies that Dr. Manhattan actually had given, or had left, and the quintessence had gathered, and used those against Perpetua. And she was considered by everyone there to be superior to Perpetua, but the only reason she wasn't a person powered by the opposite powers, crisis energies, was because Wonder Woman hesitated in the last moment. So even a fraction of Manhattan's powers is considered superior to Perpetua. And why am I not including all the other crazy amps that were included with Batmanhattan? Well, it's probably because I didn't want people bitching I included Batmanhattan for Manhattan scaling once he started getting a bunch of other external amps from crisis energies and stuff. So I didn't want to get a little bit too convoluted. But just in terms of what he did before he got them, I mean, it's pretty obvious that it's wild. In terms of AP and hacks abilities, specifically for Dr. Manhattan, and those are his forte, he is packing some pretty big heat in this department and can pretty much do anything you could imagine whenever it comes to the highest tiers that DC has to offer. Manhattan was a being who could use matter manipulation and arrange atoms casually as he saw fit in his original stories, but Dr. Manhattan is far more than a simple-minded matter manipulator by the end of the series. After getting bored with his verse, Manhattan makes a trip from his reality to ours. Turns out, Manhattan actually did this because the Great Darkness, the nothingness outside of creation, and the current evil OG cursed Manhattan to do so. The Great Darkness chose Manhattan specifically because of Manhattan's power set to destroy the heroes of the DC universe who keep getting in the Great Darkness's way, trying to return everything back to nothingness. If the idea that the Great Darkness was to use Manhattan to destroy the main continuity DC heroes, I think it's a pretty safe bet that he's definitely one of the most powerful characters in the entire verse. And I think it's pretty logical that he would choose somebody far more powerful than any of his former avatars, which include like all the idiots here. Now, this idea already places Manhattan amongst the strongest characters currently known in the entire Omniverse, or the highest plane within all of creation, not just our singular multiverse. Furthermore, when he finally makes it to our main continuity DC multiverse, where he begins to start wrecking shit up really hard. Within a few panels, Manhattan begins to completely understand the totality of DC cosmology. Manhattan begins to tamper with all of space and time by removing aspects from the hero's existence, as he was cursed to do. This also included adding extra personalized alternative histories or worlds within the time stream. The time stream is an outerversal plane representing all of space and time, even from hypertime itself. Hypertime is a pan-dimensional realm of all timelines possible or not possible that even exist beyond our exclusive multiverse. The fact that he is casually toying with outerversal planes to entirely affect all of DC cosmology in one singular strike is like crazy to me. The crazier thing is that Manhattan exists at all points in time at the same time. That grants him a causality because he's entirely unaffected by the changes to the past or even the future, and can experience all infinite possibilities that are, and the ones he chooses to make in that timeline instantly. Even if attacked by the most powerful characters on Earth, it's just a meme because attacking him in the present doesn't matter, as he exists everywhere in all points in time and will reform himself from one of those times. The Justice League learns this in real time, no pun intended, against him, and all take a major L fighting against him as he clearly scales above them. Using his mastery of warping higher dimensional structures such as the time stream, Manhattan can create quantum realities within each infinite possibility by manipulating that reality. He can use his manipulation of the time stream and hypertime to grab your ops or resurrect them from the dead, or really just like hypertime, so that they may continue their opposition against you throughout your specific storyline. Manhattan's perceptions and vision include multiple worlds, not just the one he is currently in as well. As a result of this, he literally knows every option you have at your disposal and every action you could ever possibly make. This is how he destroys entire factions of opponents he sees as obnoxious or potentially problematic, like the Legion of Superheroes, or like what he did to Alan Scott, for example. Manhattan can also manipulate you or entire events around you to convince you of what he wants without actually mind-hacking you. Just like what he did to Batman by convincing him to entirely give up the cape and cowl for quite some time by resurrecting the Flashpoint universe, holding it together after ripping it out of hypertime, and then forcing Batman to go talk to his dad. His dead dad, as a matter of fact, Thomas Wayne in the Flashpoint universe. Even if he doesn't directly target you, he can target everyone else around you for his like twisted temporal manipulations, and even turn your staunchest allies into complete enemies of you without you ever being aware of what he's doing. And you think, wait a minute, maybe I can like affect the time stream or like cloud his vision. Oh wait, they actually did try that at one point in time where trying to cloud the time stream with tachyons just didn't work on him. It clouded his view for like a few seconds, and that was like the best they got. So even throwing tachyons into a nearly blown up time stream was like nothing to this guy. Manhattan actually began to toy with that time stream so much he fucking broke it. Manhattan can also entirely undo any changes he has ever made to everything in the main continuity DC universe almost instantaneously, like he had a cosmic Control Z undo button. And with these perceptions and abilities, Manhattan is also capable of recognizing entire multiversal archetypes. Oh, what's an multiversal archetype? A multiversal archetype is an idea that lives in every reality with a chosen avatar hero representing that idea. A good example of that is like Superman, Flash, or like Wonder Woman, right? Most notably, Manhattan detected and had the biggest issue dealing with Superman's multiversal archetype. Manhattan actually mind-fucked the shit out of Superman, and Control deleted his entire multiversal archetype. And before you ask, yes, he can attack your existence entirely and across all worlds simultaneously. Well, is your character a paradox that can't die from under normal circumstances? Don't worry, Manhattan has it covered there too. Even characters like Paradox Man Reverse Flash just shit himself when witnessing Manhattan. Reverse Flash called him God and then dies from looking at Manhattan. Like, Manhattan also manages to take a dump on my boy, all my boys in the Lantern Corps, to be honest, like Guy or Kyle or even Hal. Guy gets his ring entirely shattered in a physical confrontation with Manhattan, and Kyle Rayner, the White Lantern, gets his ring entirely shattered into all his, to an entire series of rings, once Manhattan detected Kyle tampering with existence by trying to resurrect the entire Blue Lantern Corps from the dead. Even Ganthet here is like, bro, nobody should be able to stop you. This doesn't make any sense. And it's pretty wild if he is confused at that shit, considering he's in the Quintessence, a group of characters who pretty much govern our entire creation and protect a specific aspect of it. And Ganthet here is merely the avatar, essentially, of the emotional spectrum in this specific field. So if he doesn't know about this guy or a power that can do this, that's wild. Manhattan can freely teleport wherever he wants in creation. Throughout the entire series, he was jumping around the time stream, jumping back into our reality, jumping to higher dimensions. Like, it really didn't matter to him where he was going. And as I had previously said, he'd come from another reality entirely. So, I mean, he's got that going for him. Manhattan can freely bend anything around him, such as light, like specifically, to make people see whatever they want. So he can like walk into a bar as a naked blue man and normal people wouldn't know because he can just bend the light around him to make him look like a normal person. This makes him incredibly hard to deal with if you have normal perceptions too. If you don't have higher dimensional perceptions, he's just gonna meme you like super fucking hard. Manhattan can twist magic to his advantage or anything that comes from creation into a weapon against his foes. This makes sense since he is a being of pure connective energy, and in other runs, connective energy is the most foundational energy, also known as anti-crisis energy, that's used to create entire multiverses by the hands who work for the presence. And Manhattan like uses a series of magical attacks that are imposed upon him and just converts them into weapons because he looks at them as like bits of code that he already knows the full string to, and can just redirect any magical attack against users that use it. It's like hilarious, bro. This panel gives me the laughs every time. Dr. Manhattan can entirely manipulate his size and shape, entirely controlling them at will, using them to impose fear upon his enemies. Manhattan is also pretty adept at just blatantly blitzing opponents and obliterating entire superhero teams with the powerhouses, including like Flash or Hal Jordan, with just like his shadow clone ability. And like, I'm not even kidding, not only do his shadow clones here look like they have the same power he does, but bro, he like literally pulls a Naruto and bum rushes them with shadow clones, and like they can't do anything. Like, it's like the biggest rip. Manhattan has no problem like ragdolling pretty much all of DC superheroes with his pretty potently powerful blue energy blasts. If he doesn't like you, he can literally Thanos snap you out of the timeline like he did to the entire Legion of Superheroes, such as Saturn Girl seen here, or just let your entire timeline get deleted, or just not hold it together like he did with the Flashpoint existence during the Button event. If he doesn't like you, he can just nuke you from outside of space-time from the time stream or higher, like he did with Pandora. To give you an idea of striking a character and killing a character like Pandora, what it would take, Pandora is a character that could throw hands with the Spectre, members of the 7 Deadly Sins who were Outerversal concepts, has even defeated the Blight, who implies the Angels of Heaven can't even stop the Blight from like memeing out super hard. But unfortunately, none of that helped her from getting her ass one shot. But hey, having some pretty dank AP and hacks is pretty OG. But what do people in verse have to say about Manhattan? Well, to start off, Ozymandias, another dude from Earth Manhattan, considers him God, and that's with the capital G. It's also hilarious to note here that Manhattan's original world actually looks at the DC superheroes as fiction. Not that that's a scaling thing, it's just memeable, so I'd like to point that out. But Barry Allen, the Flash, looked at the body of Reverse Flash after Manhattan zapped him and said it was like nothing they'd ever encountered before, and believes that like Reverse Flash Paradox Man is gone permanently. The only reason Reverse Flash showed back up later on was because Manhattan literally undoes the actions to our multiverse down the road. Wally West, even inside the Speed Force during the duration of the New 52, could still entirely feel Manhattan's influence over the totality of reality. Wally, later on down the road, even achieving some of Manhattan's powers, explains that that Manhattan is not from our home reality, and he confirms that Manhattan is entirely made out of anti-crisis energies or connective energies, which are the purest forms of creation energy possible. It's confirmed that in death metal, that anti-crisis energies are superior to crisis energies. So if Manhattan was a pure connective energy being, he should be at the top of the food chain. Want more proof? The Fugonauts, who are essentially monitors of the light that protect the barrier between the light and dark multiverses, look at this same Wally West with a fraction of Manhattan's power as the only way to save all of this creation. Lex Luthor, the smartest man in the known multiverse, according to Jeff Johns, the guy who single-handedly pretty much rebooted all of DC, says that Manhattan himself is the most powerful being he has ever come in contact with, and all he saw was trace bits of his energy. He never even had direct contact with him. This is wild because Lex Luthor has faced about every single hero and villain and crisis that ever has been. Manhattan also believes he can entirely wipe away the metaverse, a meta concept that overlooks the entire DC creation and even forces this specific DC creation back into existence if destroyed. Speaking of which, to test his theory, he literally destroys everything inside DC to prove that point. Which is low-key hilarious at this time, because unlike the events of Flashpoint, he literally just nukes it and isn't tampering with the time stream or anything. It was a direct, I wish to delete you. So, in summation, Dr. Manhattan, depending on your interpretation of the scaling system, Manhattan is obviously high outer, tampering well above multiple outerversal realms entirely, shitting on beings who are definitely high outer, if not further down the road, a variety of aleph. And depending on if you like to use the boundless meme where, you could even perceive him as a boundless level being. Personally, I think high outer is beyond safe. Is a beyond a safe bet, considering no one decided to fuck with him. He shit on all of DC's creation and no one had the opportunity to mess with him. And he had to be defeated in a conversation where somebody convinced him he was wrong. Nobody defeated Manhattan. He talked himself down. Manhattan was never actually harmed by any character he's ever come across. So his durability stands higher than anybody we've seen so far within DC's creation. besides the highest potential characters in verse, that being the light and that being the dark. Now, there's a variety of interpretations of who those characters are. Obviously, the dark is the Great Darkness, and the Great Darkness does indeed scale above Manhattan, as he cursed him and he did do what he wanted. But at the same time, Manhattan managed to break away from that idea, implying either he himself managed to figure out he was being manipulated, or B, somebody else influenced him, that being the only other obvious choice being the light. And the light scales pretty evenly with the dark. So, if the only two characters we have confirmed above Dr. Manhattan is literally the two most powerful characters in all of creation, that's a W for Manhattan, my friends. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Be sure to thank Genius Flash for the sickest fuck Manhattan video. And if you're down to request your own video down the road, feel free to let me know down low in the description, because I do offer those and they're each priced differently. Just talk to me about it. I'm sure we'll see you down the way. But we're gonna end this bad boy out. I'm super happy you guys could join me for how exactly insanely powerful Dr. Manhattan actually is whenever you look at the totality of his actions inside DC. And be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe down low to both me and the Coffee Shop content creators, as well as my other homies. And we'll see you next time. Later, Lanterns.